Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Networking with Nathaniel. This is episode 15. It's pretty crazy. Been doing this for almost 4 months now. I'm have the pleasure of being here with January today. January is a wife, a mother of six kids. She's a TC. She's been in sub two for about 7, 8 months now, and she's been doing transaction coordinating pretty much that whole time now. I think you mentioned you've done about 36 to 40 transactions at this point, which is pretty awesome. And you
Yeah.
just joined the Gator tribe, so you're like a Gator in training. Haven't done
Yes.
any lending yet,
Chomp,
but
chomp. Let
yeah.
me tell you, I'm ready to chomp.
Yeah, that's awesome. You bring a smile to my face every time we've talked so far. It's January, and ha we haven't talked a whole lot. You've been pretty busy. I've been pretty busy, but I'm
Yeah.
glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I was excited when you invited me to come on and networking with Nathaniel. I
Yeah.
love it. I'll tell you, since I started Sub 2, I have not stopped networking with the people in the Sub 2 group
Mm.
because that is an incredible group. Like there's 12,000 people in there and
Yeah.
it is so full of amazing people and I get to talk to people just like you and
Oh.
like I would never in my entire life, in my wildest dreams, without having joined Sub 2, would I ever thought I get connected with you or some of the other people that I get to talk to. So thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm honored to be in that group of amazing people that you've met so far. And it is you've barely scratched the surface, as have I.
I
12,000
know.
people strong. It's pretty crazy. I think it was like a little over 6,000 when I joined, which
Oh,
still was like
wow.
I was like, holy moly, there's so many people. And it's
Yeah.
just like we're growing exponentially, and the more the
Yes,
merrier, it seems like. Um,
that's right.
Let me ask you, January. So we talked about you're a transaction coordinator. You've done, almost 40 deals at this point. What kind of is a day to day, what does a typical day look like for you? What's keeping you busy throughout the day?
Well, you also mentioned that I've got 6 kids,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so I actually still homeschool 4 of my kids.
okay.
They are, they keep me busy. So, a typical morning when I don't have, like, my TC huddle for with the team, I'm up with the kids early. We're, getting our schoolwork done, getting it knocked out so I can go on and start doing my TC work. Today was a little bit out of the norm because we're sitting around the table doing our lessons, and I notice a little movement outside the window. And we live on a hobby farm,
Mm.
so we saw that some of the goats had escaped and they were wreaking a little bit of havoc outside of their pen. They are
Wow.
not supposed to get where they were. So, you know, a little exercise never hurt
Yeah, no.
anybody.
Yeah. Unless
To
you're
go
me and you
chase those
overdo it.
goats. Right.
Yeah.
But once I get my teaching time done with my kids, I set them on their assignments that they can do on their own, and I start working through my TC files for the day. I try to touch every TC file that I have at least once every day, check up on it, see, where we're at, talk with teammates, ask questions, send out emails to say, hey, you know what? I asked for this document, this document, this document, and I haven't seen it yet. Have you had a chance to
Yeah.
get that ready for me? And so just helping things move forward through that closing process.
It sounds like and this is my experience a little bit as well. Being a transaction coordinator is a little bit akin to the old parable, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease kind of thing. So you just got to be the squeaky wheel all the time. Uh,
I am the
yeah.
squeaky wheel. Sometimes I squeak too loudly. I get a little karate chopped every so often by some of the title companies. They're like, "You've asked for this twice now." I'm like, "Because I really need it."
Yeah. Trying to make
It's
sure the
like,
process goes through.
"Hey, we only have a few more days until closing." It's like I need this, really,
Mhm.
really. So, but yeah, just being that reminder, being that voice that keeps on in everybody's ears.
Mm.
Hey, I need your mortgage statement. Hey, I need the closing, the settlement statement. Just being able to send out messages, talk to people, and make sure things are on track and running, as much on time as possible.
Yeah. You mentioned a team. I don't think when we first spoke, I think it was just you at that time. So what does your team look like right now?
Well, I recently joined up with Finish Line TC Services. So
Okay.
Jennifer Cortez and Jay Holder are the partners behind the Finish Line TC Services company. And I came on board with them to help them get through some of their contracts that they've got, you know, an abundance of. So help them work through their deals as well.
Okay. How many do you have open right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, that's a good question. I
Too many.
sometimes I don't count.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to say I want to say I've got 9 or 10
Okay.
open right now. And some of them are closing real soon. Some of them it looks like, they seem like they'll never close.
Yeah.
But
Been there.
they'll
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
Some of those novations, they
Mm,
take some time.
yeah.
So
Oh man, that you just opened a can of worm of questions, but I'd like to come back to the novation stuff.
okay.
So my previous question was going to be, what kind of transactions are you working on? It sounds like you're kind of running the gamut of cash and creative.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Transactional. I will, if you've got a Gator lending opportunity, I can TC your Gator deal. If you've got a PML opportunity, I can TC your PML opportunity. If you've got a sub two, a hybrid, a seller finance, a novation, like I said, I've got a wrap that's closing out soon. I've done quite a few wraps actually. And then I've got some cash contracts under my belt as well. I have been asked quite a few questions about Morby methods.
Mm.
And by sitting down with them and really kind of grinding through the numbers that they were looking at, they found out it's like, oh, these numbers just don't work for a Morby method.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten to do a Morby method all the way through, but I have consulted on a few of them at the very beginning of the process. So
Okay.
so I'm running the gamut, that's for sure.
Yeah. What does um what does consulting look like? How does a new client, let's say me, come into your world? Do you do like a 15-minute kind of onboarding type of thing? Like, what does that all entail?
Yeah, if you've got a contract and you're ready for us to take over your TC services, if you're ready for me to just take your contract and run, I have a link to my calendar to book a 30-minute consult.
Okay.
We give 30 minutes in case we need 30 minutes, but a lot of times it's a back and forth conversation. Okay, tell me about the deal. Tell me about the sellers. Are you the end buyer? Are you the wholesaler? Where are you in this mix?
Okay.
Tell me where this deal is. What are some of the specifics? I'm going to need the contract that you signed with the seller. If you're the end buyer and there's a wholesaler in between that brought you this deal, I'm going to need to see that original purchase contract. That's going to be very important for my part of the thing, because I need to turn that into the escrow company
Yeah.
if I'm opening escrow. Sometimes the wholesalers open escrow before they bring you, the end buyer, into the mix. I still need to see that purchase contract. And you really should too,
Yeah.
because you have no idea what that wholesaler promised that
Right.
seller.
Yeah.
So you've got to, so it would be a full court press. If the wholesaler hasn't given you the purchase contract yet, we would both be approaching him to say, hey, we need that contract so we can see what has been promised,
Right.
you know.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah. So at the end of that 30-minute consult, we don't talk to the wholesaler during the consult,
Right.
but we get our game plan put together. At the end of the 30-minute consult, if you want to hire me as your TC, I prepare a service agreement that I email off for signatures, and then I also send you an invoice. And the invoice is for the deposit of 50%
Okay.
to go ahead and get the work started.
Mhm.
And so once the service agreement is signed and the invoice is paid, I take your contract and I run with it. So, at that point, it's basically leave it to me. I'll take care of it.
Yeah. And how often are you checking or touching base with the client? Like, is it a weekly basis? I'm sure it's not daily. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure, I guess.
It really does depend on how fast of a close we're working on here.
Okay.
So I have a contract that just came in and we close in, well, I think we close in about 8 days now. And it just came in yesterday.
Wow.
So I'm making contact with everyone every day because there's
Yeah.
something new that comes up. I need this paperwork. I need that paperwork. And so I'm touching base with everyone and I'm in constant contact with the closing company as well. So if it's a very short timeline, that's why TCs will charge rush fees on short timelines, especially, if it's less than a 14-day
Mhm.
till close of escrow. We are constantly reaching back and it's a very fast and full amount of time till that closing table time.
Yeah.
Now, on a standard, when there's like a 30-day close after, you've had a 15-day inspection period, that's going to be, I'm going to be in touch once a week at least,
Yeah.
sometimes more than once a week. Things come up, title asks a question. And so there's a lot. I am in touch with everyone at least once a week on those longer deals, but sometimes more.
Yeah. And the once a week is just saying, hey, this is where we're at. You're not necessarily asking for anything or saying this is what we're needing right now. It's just like, hey, we're here. These are the next steps, maybe kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Right. Sometimes it's just an update. Sometimes it's a request for information. Sometimes it's uh-oh, we're delayed a little bit and this is why. So,
I want to circle back to the novation, just
mhm.
because it's not something that I've actually done yet. And so from a transaction coordinator standpoint, I'm interested. Let's just say I talk to a seller, we agree we're going to partner up on this property, we're going to do a novation. Are you a part of the transaction until I actually sell the property on the other side, however that takes place, and the seller gets paid, or are you just getting the like novation in place? And excuse my naivete, because I like I said, I've never done one, so
No,
I
that's
only know
okay.
like the basics of it. Yeah.
Right. And plus, each TC is different. So
Okay.
some TCs are, in it for the entire times period. And a lot of times those novations are 6 months, 9 months. Sometimes if it's a really large, renovation, it could be up to a year. Um, but the vast majority, the bulk of the TC work comes at the very beginning.
Mm.
The TC is going to help you get your power of attorney because you need to have control of the property and everything involved with the property. So that power of attorney is very important. And then we get all the documents lined up and sent into escrow, and we request escrow. Keep this escrow open, please,
Okay.
because this is not a done deal, but you absolutely need to get a title search. You never want to start working on that novation house, on that house, until you've found that, yeah, actually it has clear title.
Mm.
So there has to be a title search. Now, some title companies will look at this and say, we don't want to open title because we're going to have to run a title search at the end anyways. So how about we just charge you a title search fee? We'll get you the title search done. And then when it's time, we'll go ahead and at the end, when you've got your end buyer, we'll open title again because another title search has to be done at that
Right.
point anyways.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
there's a
your
number of
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. There's a number of different documents that are not what you normally see on sub-2 transactions
Mm.
that go into the novation. And those are kind of the secret sauce of the novation agreement. But as far as how long a TC stays into it, for the most part, I get all of that front end paperwork done. And there's this one last piece of paper that is basically it explains how when you're done with all the rehab, then your contract with the seller um, gets canceled temporarily
Hmm.
so that it ends up being the seller is selling it to the end buyer. And so that's kind of, you know, the document is just one of those. That's one of the key things. I think I heard somebody explain the meaning of novation is it's a new contract. So
Hmm.
you're changing contracts so that, and I've asked numerous other TCs and other people, why can't you just, as the middleman, sell it? And usually the purchaser of that novate of that the end buyer is going to be somebody who's using conventional loans or traditional lending,
Hmm.
and you those those lenders are not going to lend on an assignment contract. They're not going to lend and let their customer. They're not going to have their risk on this unknown
Right.
middle section. So
Yeah. Interesting.
if they're doing traditional lending, it has to be from the seller to the end buyer, and the paperwork is what protects you and
Hmm.
your interests.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a different piece of the puzzle that I haven't thought about, but that does make a lot of sense as the title hasn't changed hands and yeah, USAA or Chase or whatever, they don't want to see a third party in there that's just
That's
collecting a
right.
fee, even if you're the one that did all
Exactly.
the work to get it to the yeah. Um,
Exactly.
are you using your own agreements, or are you pulling from the Sub2 database? Or yeah,
I
directory.
have I have some of the contracts that have been in the Sub2 database vault area. So
Mhm.
that's I'm using Sub2 contracts
Okay.
in everything I do. So that's where I find mine. Of course, I've downloaded them, and so they're they're kept safe in my vault. But I got all my contracts from Sub2.
Okay. And I never share them with anybody. I haven't JV'd with anybody outside of Sub 2. If somebody was just like maybe from the larger creative financing group or like somebody local that I met, they can still come use your services, correct? And then they get access to all those Sub 2 documents that have been like thoroughly prepared by attorneys.
Well, okay. So let's say I meet somebody not in the Sub2 community, and they have discovered the benefits of a TC in their investment life, and they want to do a creative deal, and they want me to TC it for them, but they're not in Sub2. I do not share Sub2
Okay.
documents outside of Sub2.
Okay.
However, there are other documents that are out in the public that have been created by other attorneys. Let's say Allison Tipton. She's one of our creative friendly title companies in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And she has prepared actually a very thorough package of Sub2 contracts and wrap contracts and Sub2 closing packages. And so she's got actually a lot of free documentation on her website.
Okay.
And then there are other mentors and gurus, just like Pace will put out his wholesaling contract and his assignment contract. There are others out there like
Okay.
Jerry Norton
Mhm.
and even Jamil. They'll put out their contracts that they use. And so for people who are outside of Sub2, I have those available for them, and I
Okay.
can share those with them.
Mm.
So
So for everybody that's listening, don't think that you just can come in here and get a sub two contract. But and when I say sub two, I mean the community sub two. But
right.
January just explained that there's plenty of really good agreements out there that you can pull from, and it doesn't have to be the one from the sub two community. Now, that being
That's true.
said, I've seen the sub two ones and they're pretty incredible. Um,
Yes.
they're very thorough
Yes.
and they're
Well,
good
and like I
nationwide.
said, I've shared the contract from Allison Tipton with some other people, and hers is a one-page contract for a
Okay.
Sub2 agreement.
Yeah.
Our Sub2 contract within the community is like 13 pages
Right.
long.
Yeah.
It really covers a whole lot of stuff. And I like to say it's every bullet point in that Sub2 contract. is there because Pace probably had to go to court
Yep.
and defend his stance and his
Yeah.
reasoning behind doing this way. And so Sean St. Clair, after that court
Yeah. Adding
session,
this.
all right,
Yeah.
let's put this in here now. Now we're covered on that end because there's a story behind
Yep.
every part of those
That's funny.
contracts.
That's funny. Like there's a story. Anytime you see a silly sign like somewhere, like there's a story behind that sign right there. Somebody
Yes.
did something silly, and then they tried to sue or they were getting in trouble and they were like, all right, we got to put a sign up for that. Like
That
it's
is
hot
right.
on your coffee cup. It's hot.
I
Yeah.
know.
Like crazy.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so how long have you been in the Gator training?
Probably, I think about 2 months, but
Okay.
life has been so busy that I feel like it's been a year.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but that's just been crazy life lately, making everything feel like so much longer than it really is.
That can be a good thing. I feel like sometimes you blink and you're like, holy moly, 2023's gone.
I
What happened to
know.
it? Yeah.
Where did it go? I
Yeah.
have no idea. It
So,
was so long, but so short.
yeah. Well, I haven't done any Gator stuff. Um, I wish you the best of luck with that because
Thank you.
you got a lot on your plate already with 6 kids, homeschooling 4 of them, the hobby farm, or is that what you called it? Hobby farm?
Yeah.
Uh, and and TCing a bunch of transactions and getting them to the finish line. And that's its own can of worms. I
Yes.
do have, I guess before we jump on, I have a couple fun questions.
All right.
Any TC stuff that you maybe want to add before we move on to the fun stuff? Not that this isn't
Um,
fun.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. Honestly, you can find me and book an appointment with me at finishlinetcservices.com.
Perfect. Yep.
You go there's a bar at the top that you pick a drop down menu for Gator, PML, EMD, consult, and down that page a little bit, there's a drop down box that says pick the staff member, and my name is in that box.
Okay.
And that's a really great way to book on my calendar. I of course also still have people phoning me, calling me, and getting on my calendar many other ways. So,
Okay.
but that's a really good way to get onto my calendar, and we
Okay.
can have a consult and talk about how I can TC for you.
Yeah, I love it. So I will put the Finish Line TC services in the description.
Awesome.
I don't know if you know, can I just link straight to your calendar?
It doesn't let you link straight
Okay.
to the calendar. It
Okay.
does still go to the page, and you have to click on the drop down menu.
Okay.
But
Yeah, easy
that's
enough.
okay. If
Yeah.
you can see
Um,
all the other team members there too.
is there any other way that you like people to reach out to you? Maybe if they just want to get to know you better?
Yeah, so I have a Calendly link. I'll share
Okay.
with you so you can put it
Yeah.
down below.
Cool.
So anybody who wants to click on my Calendly link, we can just have a 15-minute, networking session, see how maybe we can do some business together.
Yeah. And just get to know another cool person inside the Sub 2 community, whether you are in or out.
Absolutely.
We're always looking to meet other
Absolutely.
people that are taking action. I know
Yes.
you mentioned that you have a lot of books that you really enjoy. So can we start with that, January? Like,
Absolutely.
do you have any specifically to real estate investing that you like?
I actually really enjoyed I'll name two. Of course, one is very real estate invested, and it's called Real Estate by the Numbers. It
Okay.
was published by Bigger Pockets. Unfortunately, I can't remember who wrote it. I never remember the authors.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, I can't say who my favorite author is because I have no idea who writes
Yeah.
the books. But that book My husband got it for me at the beginning of this year, and we
Okay.
read through it together. It gives you Excel spreadsheets, and it takes you through. And I mean, if you don't know what a CAGR is, that book explains
Mm.
CAGR and IRR and, annualized IRR and all your cap rate. And I mean, it is and we like math in our family.
Okay.
My oldest daughter is in college to become a CPA.
Okay.
So, okay, so we're kind of weird.
Yeah.
But we love the numbers, and we can take those spreadsheets that they gave us and we put in, when wholesalers bring us deals, we start filling in, all the information onto those spreadsheets like, woo, this is a good one. Oh, not so good. I mean, it
Okay.
gives you your DSCR ratio and your monthly expense, percentages and what you can expect to be your annual growth rate, your cash flow, your expenses, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
That was a really awesome one. So real estate by the numbers,
Okay.
we loved it.
Yeah. I'll
That
look that
that
one up.
was a really neat one that we enjoyed. Directly, specifically real estate related. Now, the second book that really touched me was The Go Giver, and
Not that one yet.
yeah, that one is
Yeah.
so good. It's kind of almost allegorical. You hear they're telling the story in a way that you're really feeling the steps. You don't feel like you're getting trained in any specific thing. You're in the moment. You're totally relating with these characters. And I specifically very much related with one of the characters during the week that he was meeting all these people. Her name was Deborah Davenport, and I just saw myself just like her,
Mm.
except in her situation, her husband just walked out and left. In my situation, I've always thought, oh my goodness, what happens if my husband dies? I've been a stay at home homeschool mom for 20 years. I never saw myself as having marketable skills
Mm.
or value, really. I just, oh, the lawnmower didn't work. I'm going to
Yeah.
go watch some YouTube videos
Yeah.
and learn how to fix that darn thing because that's been my role, saving the money. I haven't been earning the money in the
Right.
family.
Mm.
So when I heard the Deborah Davenport part and how she saw herself in a very similar way, it's like her husband left her. What did she have? She had been this stay-at-home mom for all these years, and her final coming to realization that she really did bring value to the world. I was bawling. I
Mm.
cried so hard.
Oh
I
man.
was and we were on our way to a sub two meetup. So I was like,
Oh,
oh my gosh, my mascara, how's my
people are
face?
gonna think I'm a freak. Yeah. I was just so excited to join the Sub 2 meetup. That was
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, never mind the streaks down my
Yeah.
cheeks. Uh, but that was an incredible book. Really touched me. We've listened to it on audiobook again. We've had
Okay.
our kids listen to it. We've shared it with friends. We're just like, people, you have got to hear this.
That's one of those.
And
Okay.
so we've been really, that's another book that we really, really enjoyed listening to, really touched me
Awesome.
and kind of opened my eyes because I got into TC work as like, I don't know how this is going to work out
Mm.
because I'm just this stay at home mom.
You say
But
that so like nonchalantly, but that's not, yeah.
it has taken me some time to realize there is a lot of value that I have that I just never realized was valuable.
Yeah.
So, because everything I just did it
Yeah.
because I had to. It
Mhm.
wasn't because I was trying to prove myself valuable anywhere. I was just like, I just need to get it done.
Right.
So, even in my own mind, I didn't count that as valuable because it was just a thing I did. And so it was a real big mindset shift for me to see like, wow, okay, I I guess do bring something to
Yeah.
this world.
You know what? You're the second person that I'm gonna do this with now, and it be the first person. It had been 30 years, but give yourself a pat on
Wow.
the back.
Oh,
You don't do it
I was
very
going to
often.
say, don't make me cry. No.
No, give yourself like some of the most simple things we do on a daily basis, we just don't give ourselves credit for. And then at the end of the day, you're sitting there wondering, like, man, what did I accomplish today? Like, man, just give yourself a pat on the back. Did you make the bed? Like, you made the
Right.
bed, Like,
Exactly. Every morning, make the
yeah,
bed, make the coffee, get everybody going.
yeah.
And I just yeah, I never saw that I had real value.
Mm,
I just figured I was just this person behind the scenes,
yeah,
and
it's tough.
everybody else was who I pushed forward to make sure the world sees you and the world can, understand your value. I'm just here and behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And so
You're the one
that
making
was a big
everything work though. Yeah.
and so that's why TC worked out so well
Yeah,
for me. I'm
that's just
like, I
like
am so used to behind the
yeah,
curtain
yeah.
kind
Just
of
making
stuff.
sure
So
all the wheels are turning and the gears are in motion. Yep. I love
that's
it.
right. That's
Um,
right.
the last one I have is you mentioned before that you have maybe a few of these, but if you could pick one of your like biggest life lessons at this point, like how did you learn it? What did you learn from it?
So I've been married to the military for a couple decades.
Hmm.
My husband served almost 27 years, and I came in after he had been, in the military 5 or 6 years. Through that time, he had to be, deployed and away from home. And there have been many years that he'd been out for at least half of the year. I I had to learn independence. I had to learn to, not necessarily to be able to function without anyone else because I know my whole family was behind me, but I needed to learn to not have to rely
Mm.
on everybody else in order to get anything done. So becoming a self-starter, that, was something that came out of that, and it serves me very well. I know what I need to do. I got to go get it done. So let me get it started.
Yeah.
That's just something that has brought me along the way. I've had deployments with babies. I've had deployments without babies. And being able to just say, okay, this is a temporary situation. We're going to make the best of it, and we're just going to push forward. And so
Mm.
resiliency and independence and just that personal inner strength and a whole lot of relying on God.
Uh,
So
the last point there, you kind of hit home there. Well,
yeah.
we are running out of time here, January, so I want to make sure that we're able to wrap it up and say our proper goodbyes. It has been a
Yes.
pleasure. Any parting thoughts for anybody out there listening?
Oh boy, let me tell you, I have come across so many investors who have not used TCs
Mm.
and then started using TCs. And a lot of times it's kind of like what I hear from people who get their knee replaced, right? I should have done it so much long ago. I should have done it sooner.
Yeah.
Um, you know what? A consultation doesn't cost you anything. If you've got questions about your contracts, give get in touch with me. Click on my Calendly
Yep.
link. Click on the website link and get a connection call, and let's talk through it. Let's look at what you've got, because if you're afraid, if you're not sure of where you're at with it, then that fear might stop you from moving forward on that deal. Get
Yeah,
another
absolutely.
set of eyes on it.
Hmm.
That's what I'm here for. That's what the TC's crew is here for. So yeah,
It
just
definitely
reach
doesn't
out.
hurt to get to get a third opinion or a second opinion or a third opinion.
That's right.
Yeah, especially from somebody who's seeing a lot of transactions and doing a lot of transactions, and has a network that they're able to lean on and say, "Hey, look at this. We
Definitely.
got this thing. Let's figure this out together." Well, I appreciate
Absolutely.
you. It's a pleasure.
Man, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'm so, so thankful you brought
Yeah.
me on. I have
Hey,
enjoyed this so much.
we're gonna connect back for probably like episode 65 and see what all the amazing
Ooh,
things you've done
that'll
there.
be so
Yeah.
awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, January.
Yep, it's been
Later.
awesome.